How? I mean, how could this attractive, bright artist and architect have become so depressed she mutilated herself and was suicidal? Next on this edition of It's Supernatural.
Centuries have come and gone, offering wisdom and understanding throughout the ages. Today, there should be nothing beyond one's power to discover. And yet the strange, unusual, and mysterious world of the supernatural defies understanding. Stay tuned for a unique and powerful investigation into a curious, undiscovered universe, only on It's Supernatural.
Hello, I'm Sid Roth, your investigative reporter, here with Lori Millard. How could an attractive artist, architect, tremendous gifting, everything to live for, want to mutilate herself, or want to be suicidal? How does this thing happen? Lori, you're not only an artist, but you're a writer. And you wrote a book, and I'd like you to read something about your innermost feelings from that book.
All right, I'd like to do that. Sometimes I feel so scared and so alone, wondering why I keep trying to smile. I feel like crying. Why me? Why am I so deep? Why am I so different? Or am I? I lay alone, unable to face reality, cold. The cut is so deep from my own knife, dropping red on the script as I perform the most difficult act, my life. Writing more each day. The show must go on. More makeup, please. I need a smile for this scene.
Lori, I'm going to take you back. I'm going to take you back to a time when you first discovered that you could prevent yourself from gaining weight by forcing yourself to vomit. Tell me about that.
Well, it's tough to go back there. It's like a violent nightmare, a really bad memory. But it really was my life for quite a number of years. And when it is your life, whether you're having eating disorders or whether you're shooting up with heroin or whether you're drinking all the time and ruining your liver and vomiting, it's that same kind of disgusting feeling. And I was really thin for a while, and it was just great. I was like, I'm in control. I had a little...
Was the objective being thin, or was the objective being in control?
The objective was being in control, like creating an environment where no one could touch you, but it becomes a prison. And it became an escape for me, and then I began to just use food or not food, either not eating or eating, to deal with everything. And so it was how I regulated my whole life. So I taught myself how to throw up, and it's very shameful and embarrassing at this moment. But the reason I share it is because it's powerful testimony. I would just put my hands down my throat and vomit, and I had scars on my knuckles, and I would lay sometimes in my own vomit or my like blood, because sometimes blood would come up because I wanted to get every piece of food out of my body. And I also took drugs at the time, not so much of a huge problem, but had just every obsessive behavior, the food being the worst one. And sometimes I lock myself in my room for like weeks at a time, have a little bit of food in there, but pretty much just be isolated, cut my own body, just to be so depressed that
But why were you so depressed? What were the roots of that?
Well, I believe for me it stemmed from some abuse in my childhood, and just not knowing there was a dark side, like a dark force. Like, I wish I knew as a kid when I went to sleep at night why I was so scared of the dark. But there is a God, and there is darkness. And now I understand that somewhere in my life, I either made a decision or played into that darkness, not knowing. And that darkness was trying to destroy me.
It's sort of like there used to be a cartoon strip with an individual that would have a dark cloud over their head. That's what it sounds like you're describing?
Right. Like I would go to sleep at night and have violent nightmares of blood and murder, and demonic creatures, which
Did
I didn't believe in.
Did anyone know this was going on, or did you have the nice Hollywood facade? I'm happy, you're happy, everyone's happy.
Yeah, I was the girl on campus. I mean, I was like a 4.0 student in architecture. I ran marathons. I did everything. I mean, not at the lowest points. Those points I was completely incapacitated.
What was your lowest weight?
My lowest weight was 95, and it was about 25 pounds thinner than I am now, and I'm pretty thin now. But it was quite scary because I didn't have my menstrual cycle, and that was scary because as a woman, you know, I wanted to have children, but I didn't have it for 6 years because my body couldn't cope with everything.
And I don't quite understand this. You said that your knuckles or your fingers were cut. Why were they cut?
Well, because I jammed my hand down my throat so violently trying to get the food up, and I would just keep vomiting until there was absolutely nothing but stomach acid or blood coming out. So I would know I got all the food out.
Isn't this life-threatening?
Oh yeah, and I was in college about 1983, and Karen Carpenter died, who was a famous singer, and I really loved her. And I remember it struck me so much, and I thought, oh my gosh, you can die from this. Like, what am I doing? So then I really tried to get out of it, and I couldn't get out of it. I mean, it just was worse. It just was worse. There was no way out of it.
So it's almost like an alcoholic who says, I can stop anytime I want, but you're really deceived. You can't.
Yeah. I had no power, no control, and the more I tried, it seemed the worse it got, and then I was really desperate. And I tried psychology, psychiatric care. They give me medicine. I'm very rebellious or very intuitive or something. I said, this is ridiculous. This is not going to help me. I have something inside wrong. I just knew something inside of me was wrong, something bigger than like pills and a chemical imbalance. I was diagnosed with all kinds of mental illness. But I didn't believe it. I believed there was something else, but I didn't know what. So
but did psychiatry make you feel better?
No, it made me feel worse.
Why?
Well, actually, they would diagnose some of the symptoms. They're like, well, you have this and this and this. I'm like, I know that. Can you heal me? Can you help me? I mean, it really frustrated me a lot. I was looking for answers.
Now we hear terms anorexic, bulimic. What is the difference between the two?
Well, anorexic is when you starve yourself and you just don't eat for, you know, whatever, but you become very, 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 very thin. Bulimia can be if you're throwing up or you're having laxatives and you're eating a lot of food, but you're getting rid of the food.
Not only anorexic, not only bulimic, but just plain overweight. They're all out of control areas, and you know what? They're all life-threatening. Is there hope? Is there help available? Of course there is. That's why you're watching. Be back in just a moment.
Read the shocking true account of a young woman's painful suffering. This inspirational book, No More Black Days, describes Lori Milord's heart-gripping journey through severe depression, eating disorders, and compulsive behaviors, and her incredible escape into the arms of God. Year after unbelievable year, Lori swam in a pool of dark emotions, smiling on the outside to hide the true depth of her pain on the inside. No More Black Days follows her extraordinary experiences. Learn why sometimes tears just weren't enough, and how a spark of hope changed the course of her entire life. A life now with only one reason to live: God's unfailing love.